Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining this very important workshop and discussion. Let's begin with a word of prayer. Gracious God, we thank you. We praise you for this day and the privilege you give us to be here. Thank you for those who are joining us tonight. And thank you for our health and wellness ministry and our focus on physical health and mental health and spiritual health. Bless this time of discussion and presentation tonight. And may we leave here better than when we came. This we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
So let me welcome you all to this workshop on how to find the right therapist for me. I want to thank our health and wellness ministry, Sister Susan Jennings and Sister Trachelle Apson, as well as Dr. Sharon Boyd Jackson and other members of the ministry who are keeping us focused on those areas of health and wellness. Our church has certainly a specific emphasis on the importance of mental health. And I thought this was a good workshop for us to do, since we are always commenting and pushing people to get therapy. The next natural question is, how do I find a good therapist? I'll just share quickly my own journey. I did not go through a process as such of finding a therapist. I went based on the recommendation of a good friend to a therapist. And because I was in crisis at the time, I accepted the recommendation that was given. It just so happens that it worked out. And I've been talking to the same therapist weekly for 13 years. So that has been a blessing for me. But I'm sure after listening to this workshop tonight, there's probably another way to do it. All right. So I'm not suggesting that you do what I did, but there might be another way to do it. And that's what we're interested in hearing tonight. So should I just go ahead and introduce Dr. Sharon, Susan? You're muted. You're muted.
I think Trishelle is on. We're just gonna have some house rules.
Oh, okay.
Trishelle, and then
All right.
we
Then
can,
I'm done.
Dr. Sharon can start.
Okay, I'm done.
Trishelle?
Thank you, Pastor.
You're welcome.
You're on. Trishelle, you're muted.
This is Blondell, Trachelle's mother. I don't know if she's on because she's traveling.
Okay. So I'll do it. She said she would. I'll do it. So just a couple quick little things. I will. You can. This is interactive, so you can ask questions along the way, and you can use the hand raise, or you can use the chat. I know that Sister Drew is going to be monitoring the chat, so we'll both be stepping in so that you can ask questions as Dr. Sharon presents. We are also going to drop in a resource guide at midway through, so you have time to grab it and save it to wherever you want to save it to. And I think those are the main things that we wanted to just mention before we started.
Okay.
And then there's also a number. If you want to speak to Dr. Sharon separately or privately, we will also drop that number. Dr. Sharon, I don't know if that's in the resource
It's
that you're
on-
going to be. Oh, that
it
is?
is.
Okay. All right. So we'll be dropping the resource in throughout this presentation.
Okay.
That's it for me.
Thank you. So we are getting started a little late, and we know we have an hour, so I'm going to try and move things along pretty quickly. And as Sister Susan said, you can ask questions along the way. I am a licensed psychologist. I've been doing clinical work over 25 years, working with adults and couples and running women's groups. My specialty is anxiety and depressive disorders and adult children of alcoholics. My training is orientation. My training orientation is psychodynamic, and I am retiring after teaching for 30 years, and I'm so happy about that. Okay. Sister Drew Sister Thorne Drusilla Thorne is going to assist me in the chat. So if you have questions, hands raised, she will make sure that I get them. Sister Drew, do you want to say something about yourself because you also are in the field?
Sure, why not? Um, I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I've been doing therapy for over 30 years. And I started out in healthcare in the hospitals, then I went to the school system. So my specialty at that time was children, adolescent children. And then as I retired and came into private practice, I dealt more with adults with depression and anxiety. And I'm very close to being completely retired.
Okay, thank you, thank you. All right, so to get started, I am going to share my screen and well, let's just talk a little bit about why this presentation. Pastor Wilson has done a 15 sermons on mental illness and in sort of introducing the importance of mental illness and also looking at mental illness in the Bible. I did not tape all 15. I wish I had. Maybe he'll do it again at some point. But I think that, we I think he's influenced a lot of members to actually either think about therapy or going into therapy. And so I have been asked about referrals from time to time. And recently, my own brother decided that he wanted to go into therapy. I was so happy. And he had asked me questions like, well, how do I choose a therapist? What do I say when I go in? And so I'd like to be able to answer some of those questions today. I need your help. It's going to be conversational, even though I've been a college professor, I'm retiring from that. I don't want to be too academic, so I want to give some basic information. Okay, so let's begin. Others. Okay. So I hope everyone can see this.
It's good.
Good. Okay. So this is just an overview. We're going to be talking about what is psychotherapy. Is it time to start therapy? What if I choose the wrong therapist? And what are some of the types of therapy approaches? And how will I know if this therapy is successful? I've got the CC on. So can you see that at the bottom?
Yes, I can
Oh,
see it.
okay. I'll leave it on. So what is therapy? When we think of therapy, it's and I'm saying psychotherapy, um, because we have to learn, I think, to manage, not only manage, first of all, understand what our thoughts, behaviors, and emotions are. So we think that we know, and most of the time we do, but there are some times that we may have difficulty understanding what we're thinking. You ever wake up depressed and said, "Shoot, I'm feeling depressed today. I'm not sure why." So you might be thinking about what happened yesterday or whatever, but understanding your emotions, thoughts, behaviors, managing, not only understand, but being able to manage. What is your emotional IQ? Have you heard of that? Um, and also modify. The pastor talked about change recently, right? Modifying is change. Then being able to change those thoughts, behaviors, and emotions as well. But when we talk about psychotherapy, we're looking at all of that, understanding, managing, modifying thoughts and behaviors and or emotions of individuals with diagnosable symptoms. And that means that you're having difficulty with that, right? If it's diagnosable. I wanted to talk a little bit about counseling versus psychotherapy because we hear about that. And sometimes counseling, psychotherapy are used interchangeably. But if we were to look at the original definition, and the definition that still stands with some is counseling is looking at, we'll say, less severe issues that a person might have, life cycle issues such as getting married for the first time, choosing the right person, having a baby for the first time, moving out of the house, going to college. Those things can cause, some stress, some anxiety that a person might feel and need assistance with. Psychotherapy is actually dealing with psychopathology or those issues that might be diagnosable. So more severe issues, we'll say. Types of therapy, we go in, most of us are looking for individual one-on-one, but sometimes we might need more than one-on-one therapy. Maybe we're having issues with our family, and so we want to go in to deal with some family issues, or couples dealing with marital issues, or maybe group therapy is also another type of therapy. So individual, marriage and family, but group therapy is also something that can be very valuable. If you have been in individual therapy and it's helped, you might think about, well, can group therapy help even further, especially if you're focused on one particular issue that is something that's been maybe challenging for you for a long time, dealing with trauma, dealing with abuse, dealing with simple things, maybe just trying to develop a career or manage your own anger, manage your own emotions. So there are different types of groups. The skill development group. The skill development group is working on particular skills like anger management or social skills training. And then the specialty therapy groups would be focused on maybe some of the therapy the therapy diagnosis, such as different types of anxiety disorders or different types of depressive disorders. And then there's psychoeducational groups that will focus on maybe educating you about you and the family, maybe about a particular diagnosis, or educating about medication that a person might have. So I'm going to move
Dr.
on.
Sharon,
Mhm.
someone asked in the chat, where does grief therapy fall into that spectrum?
Grief therapy can fall in any of those areas, because as an individual, you might be going in, um, and I'm going to talk about that a little later. It's like when you are trying to choose a therapist, are you looking for brief therapy? Are you looking for long-term therapy? So you can get that within groups. There are some groups that are time limited. Yeah, this is maybe a grief group that is only 3 months. And so there's a beginning and ending point, as well as in marriage and family. Okay. Okay.
Someone asked, can you speak louder?
Oh, okay. Yes, I can. I shall. Um, my so next, is it time to start therapy? Sometimes we may not understand or know when it's time to start therapy, but there is so much going on in the Black community. And I have these statistics here that I'm going to breeze through because I really want to get to the meat. But you know that we are there's research that says we're more likely to report being sad most of the times than white individuals, women reporting hopelessness. There's health disparities that we deal with, infant and maternal mortality rates are high, racial stress. I could talk about that forever. There are so many racial stressors out there. I've experienced them myself. I can give you examples. Suicide rates and microaggressions. The microaggressions are those little things that happen day to day that you don't necessarily, sometimes you don't even know how to respond to them. So if you're in a meeting and someone says, your boss says, "Oh, we're going to get the slaves to do that," and it's like you were like, you're the only black person in the room. Like, what slaves? What did he say? How do I respond to that? Just having to think through that can cause stress. We also know that the APA during Mental Health Awareness Month in 2024, the American Psychological Association, Arthur Evans, a Black man, testified before Congress about the rising rates of suicide among Black men, and youth, and the importance of promoting mental health and wellness. He actually said, reported, quote unquote, when it comes to our mental health, we want to be protective. We want to be secretive. But if we really want to address issues, we have to normalize it and talk about it. Not normalize it as, it's happening, but we need to be able to talk about it, not say that it's hush hush, or trying to, sweep it under the rug because it's uncomfortable. So let's talk a little bit about Black pain. I do have a video. It's only 2 minutes, so I think I will share it. If it'll play. Let's stop this. And let's see. The person, nope, that's not.
When you go to share it, just open up the
Uh-huh.
link in a separate window.
Yeah, I had it. Yeah, I was
Mhm.
gonna go to, all right, I'll do that, but because I
Yeah,
was
open up
gonna,
in a separate window. Go to the screens when you hit share. Pick
yeah,
that screen, and then click optimize for video sharing, and then share it on your right.
yeah, I was trying not to do it that way because
Your belly, even if you don't.
do you see it?
Okay.
Do
No.
this. A clear out stuck
You
poop
don't see
test.
it. See,
June 17th
that's
in
why I was trying
2019,
not to do
my
it
mom
that way.
was rushed to the hospital to have what was basically.
All right, you know what? I'm gonna skip it.
I think three of the hardest words to respond to honestly.
Or you can drop the link in the chat, and I could share it. So.
Okay. Let's see, how do I? All right. You guys are challenging me. Drop the
Mhm.
link in the chat. I've got the link. Okay, there's the chat. There you go.
Okay, that's a screenshot, so I'm gonna have to type it in, but just give me a minute, okay?
Mm-hmm. So, I want, in talking about this, I'm showing this video because it is a just a 2-minute synopsis of what Terry Williams went through. She actually wrote a book called Black Pain, and it is in part of the resources. And so you'll be able to, see the book if you're interested. But she's not a psychologist, but it's a biography of her own pain and what she went through. Hmm. So there are many reasons why we might decide that we want to go to therapy, that it's time to start. There, I think that sometimes we go through stress, as I said, everyone deals with stress. Who is it starting? The loss of a loved one. Okay, it's getting ready to start. Relationships. But you can go ahead and start it. Or do I
three
need
of the
to start?
hardest words to respond to honestly in the English language are how are you? We lie. I wrote this book because I really wanted to sound an alarm. So many people are in deep emotional pain. For many of us, the pain has become normalized. I think that we don't know what our pain looks like, what it feels like, what it sounds like. I think far too many of us think that we're the only ones and we can't dare show a kink in the armor. Meanwhile, everybody that we know, everybody on the planet has holes in them. And you never know how many holes there are in the person next to you. I know that depression is universal. Black people in this country have a whole other set of circumstances that impact on our pain. We either internalize it and we have major illnesses, hypertension, heart disease, cancer, or it comes out. We'll self-medicate with drugs, alcohol, food, and sex, gambling, working 24/7, and the hurting and the killing each other. 3 years ago, I experienced what was probably the darkest bout of depression I ever experienced. Literally broke down for almost 9 months. And sometimes I would end up at a business meeting and would literally marvel at how I was able to wear that mask. That just 2 hours ago, I was on the floor in tears. It was not just the pain that I was feeling, it was the stress of pretending that.
Okay, it's froze, so we can end it there. Should I just try to go back to the PowerPoint? But I need to be able to share. Okay. Okay, can everyone see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay. So my question is it time for you to start therapy? Are you coping effectively with your stress, whether it's short-term stress or long-term stress, whether you've lost a loved one, whether you have family problems or financial problems, physical pain or sleep deprivation, the loss of appetite? Can anyone think of anything that I might have left off this list when you think about going to therapy or reasons for going to therapy? Let me ask this question first from my audience. How many of you actually are in therapy or have been in therapy at some point? If you can just raise your hand, Sister Drew or Susan can give me a estimate of how many. Okay. All right. So that's 5 out of.
Yeah, I got about 10.
Oh, okay. All right. 10 out of, I don't know how many people are on.
32.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, about a third of you have had some experience at least with therapy, which is good. You'll be able to answer some of my questions. Um, all right, does anyone want to add to this list? I'll move on if not.
I just added caretaking for someone.
Uh-huh.
I
Caretaking.
guess I wouldn't call that a family problem, but family related.
It's a stressor.
It is.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. Caretaking.
And also a disorder, like an eating disorder or something, physical disorder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, physical eating disorder is a physical disorder, and it's one of those that are it's very difficult to treat. I think you have to be a specialist in that area if you're working with someone who has an eating disorder and working with um a physician as well. Okay. Am I loud enough? You guys can hear me? Okay. Okay. So I wanted to just emphasize also that this is NIMH data. I recreated part of the chart that they had just to look at some of the differences. We all at some point experience, some type of stress or depression that may not be considered mental health or something diagnosable. But here we can see that 23% of adults were experience any mental illness in the United States in 2022. And we can see a difference between this is females and males. I'm sorry. This is overall, this is females, this is males. So more females than males experiencing mental illness. This is Hispanics, whites, blacks, um, um, Alaskan, and Asian. So we have diversity here. Pastor also talked about diversity this past Sunday. And so we can all have an experience where we maybe have major issues that we need psychotherapy. And then sometimes, as I said before, there is the range. We all need therapy at some point, I think. When I talk about it, I say that it can be helpful to everyone. But let's look at the 3 different indicators that can be helpful to help us know when it's time. First, it's important to have self-awareness. And self-awareness is being aware of your thoughts, your emotions, understanding, being able to manage. So subjective distress would be one way. We know whether or not we are not feeling ourselves. If we're feeling more anxious than usual, more stressed than usual, stressed to the point where maybe we're not being as productive or as effective in our relationships or on our jobs. 2, sometimes we don't notice those things, and other people may actually notice. Your people that are close to you might notice that you tend to be sleeping a little bit too much. You tend to you're not as energetic as you normally are for some reason. So others can actually look at and notice a change in our behavior, in our emotions, and in our thoughts. Impaired functioning would be probably the one that actually can give us the most information, because if we're not being productive at work, not only is your boss or other people around you, your colleagues going to see it, but you're also going to feel that and see that you're not doing the work that you have done. If you are having difficulty in relationships. So there could be a decrease in productivity, decrease in your emotions and motivation.
Someone in the chat also put in, I think it was Sister Smith, about aging and how aging leads to depression sometimes, especially if you live alone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So for those of us that have people in our family who are aging or are experiencing it themselves, that's something to look out for.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Aging uh families, and that's where families and family support sort of comes in. And as Cheryl mentioned, the caretaking also begins at that time, and there can be caretaking stress and difficulty for people who are aging. Often, one of the things that we found is that people with people that are aging, it's sometimes difficult to identify depression because, or where the depression is coming from because of the medications that they're taking. They may be taking medications that may be causing the depression, or it may be something else, but it's important to work with the physician as well as the therapist. I see a hand raised.
Sister Nixon.
Nixon.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. I just wanted to add that the medical healthcare workers are under a tremendous amount of stress as far as saving lives and working. If you worked my specialty was critical care, shock trauma, and it's takes a lot. And we saw that during the COVID pandemic, and those that were had to work those emergency rooms, and the trauma of that alone sent out created a lot of stress. And I had a coworker of mine walk out of the emergency room after doing a 12-hour shift during COVID, and she was so exhausted and stressed that she walked right out of the hospital and collapsed right on the sidewalk. So a lot of people don't talk about the healthcare workers, and until we went through that COVID,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it's always been there.
Yeah, yeah, there are some groups where even suicide is highest. And healthcare workers, especially working in the ER, is an issue. That's one of the populations too. Thank you for that. So what should we look for in a therapist? What if I choose the wrong therapist? What should I look for? I say don't be afraid to interview your therapist. Uh, Consultation you can consult with a therapist. You can actually um, ask the therapist to talk with them, maybe even before the session. For some, it depends. If you have a phone number, sometimes we don't even have a phone number because with this day and age, a lot of therapists have websites, and they want you to put your information in, and converse with you via online. And but you can ask the questions even in that format. So what do you want to know? You want to know the credentials of the therapist. You want to know whether their experience. So credentialing simply means, well, are you licensed? What kind of training have you had? Are you certified to work with certain populations, or work with certain diagnoses, or so that you can have specific credentials, specific certifications, licensing, and or experience. You also want to know what approach um, do you use as a therapist. I mean, I introduced myself and said that I'm more psychodynamic, which, and hey, what does that mean? The Sometimes you don't know. There's also CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. I don't know if you've heard of all of these different types of therapy, but EMDR, EFT, which is emotional focus. So I don't know whether or not if those of you who have gone to therapists that you've heard some of these terms or they've been thrown at you, or you've been able to find out, well, what is the approach or orientation? Generally, the therapist will, if they're not educating you on those acronyms that they're throwing out, they may just simply tell you, well, I'm the therapist that focuses more on your thinking. I want to know how your thinking influences your behavior or influences your emotions. Or I'm a therapist that wants to focus more on your past and patterns of relationships and how those past your past experiences might be impacting your present behavior. So you might get something like that as well. But you want to know because you want to know whether or not, oh, you're going to, I don't know if I really want to talk about my past. I might want more immediate something more immediate, and I want to focus on just the here and now. I want to focus on what's going on now, and I want to change my behavior, my situation now. And so those would be more of a more behavioral therapist. So the questions are important, and for you to also have some idea of what you're looking for and what you want is important as well. Looking at experience is important. What experience does this therapist have with my age group? What experience does this person have with my gender, with my culture? I want to know, and you can ask those questions and ask the therapist to be upfront with you. The therapist will be upfront with you. They're a good therapist. And you want to know maybe the expected time frame of the therapy, long-term, short-term. Someone talked about brief therapy in the very beginning, asked that question. Long-term therapy, I see long-term therapy as being able to identify what are some of the issues, some of the goals that you want to change and work on in your life. And you want to be able to work on that with the therapist. So long-term therapy would be helping the therapist, helping you to identify what those what the goals are, objectives are, what things do you want to change about your life, and then working with you through it. Short term would be maybe the therapist helping you to identify what changes need to be made and how, and then kind of sending you on your way to giving you the tools, to make those changes, and then um, sending you on your way to out into the world to use those tools. And long-term therapy could be anywhere from a year, 2 years, or as Pastor said, 13 years. Um, or short term would be more of maybe a month and a half to 3 months, maybe 6 months. So it depends on what you are looking for, and that's important to let the therapist know, because they will let you know whether or not they think that the issue you're coming in with is a short-term issue or a long-term issue as well. What if medication is needed? You want to know whether or not the therapist maybe has experience with that, working with someone who is medicated, also has access to psychiatrists that they can report to, not necessarily report to, refer to. And so you know that you would be covered, or if medication is needed. And privacy and limits of confidentiality. this is important. A lot of people, this is one of the reasons why a lot of people don't want to go to therapy because of that lack of privacy. They believe or feel that their what they tell the therapist is not going to be kept confidential, especially if you're going through an EAP, an employee assistance program, which is the counseling that you may have on your job, and maybe a supervisor refers you, and you may feel that the therapist may reveal some information to your supervisor, which could jeopardize your job. Not going to happen. Well, it's not supposed to happen, I'll say. But because your therapy appointments and what you say in therapy is private, there are limits to confidentiality, and those limits are if you were to tell your therapist that you're going to hurt somebody or that you're going to hurt yourself, then that the therapist has to help you by making sure that that doesn't happen. So calling the authorities, making sure that you are hospitalized if need be, but hurting yourself, hurting someone else, that's the limit. I'm gonna.
The
Okay,
Sharon,
there's a
there's a
question
couple of,
about okay.
Okay.
Yeah, there are a couple of questions that two of them kind of go together. One is about availability and about insurance plans and what are they covered by insurance or is it out of pocket?
Okay.
And so those two go together. The other one is about art therapy.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So yeah, whether availability of therapists, I'm not sure what you're asking in terms of availability. But there are, I think because of COVID and because there are a lot of people are more educated about a therapy and psychotherapy and choosing therapists. Sometimes it is hard to get an appointment. And I'll tell you the most difficult times are right now, the summer, because therapists are either planning, a month's vacation, taking a break. And so it might be difficult to find a therapist. And also around the holiday time, first of the year, around that time as well. So those are the two times, within I think the year that it might be more difficult to find a therapist. But you can see a therapist in person, or you can also do online now with teletherapy. And so that makes access to a therapist a lot easier. And it allows therapists also to take on more clients because it cuts down on travel time. I forgot to bring water.
That's okay. Pastor Wilson would like to make a statement so you can, take a breath.
Okay.
Yeah, just a very quick statement, Dr. Sharon. I wanted to throw in that very often people, mostly congregants, make appointments with me as pastor, and we have private confidential conversations, and they come to me for quote unquote counseling. Now, technically, I cannot provide counseling because I am not licensed to provide quote unquote counseling. So the way I've kind of gotten around that over the years is to say, we are having, confidential conversation, because I do not ever want it to be a legal problem for me, but also to set people's expectations that just because, I have degrees, that doesn't make me a counselor. I am not a counselor or a therapist in the way that you are. But I don't know that people make that distinction very clearly when they're talking about their pastor. So when people come to talk to me, I just wanted to put that on the table. That when people come to talk to me, it's a private conversation, and we will talk about, you know, issues and things that can be helpful to their lives, but I cannot technically and legally call it counseling. Am I right on that?
You are right. I mean, pastoral counseling is different. And the I think I was going to address this because I think that anybody can call themselves a counselor or a therapist, but you are right about the possibility of being subject to legal issues if something occurs and the person feels that, oh, you gave them the wrong advice and wants to sue.
Mhm.
And the difference is someone who is licensed, who is credentialed, can get insurance. Someone who is not cannot get insurance for that. So it's dangerous when people think that they are working with a therapist. But pastoral counseling I see is different. I see as someone coming to you to get advice. And sometimes you might listen and not give any advice. Sometimes you might give advice. But I think I think in the end, if you let them know that, well, talking to a professional therapist might be best, possibly for them, and just let them know the difference. That's important.
In your field, though, is pastoral counseling a designated um, area of counseling that is recognized by licensed therapists and such as yourself?
No, not unless you're licensed, because there
Right.
is, yeah, there is the difference. There's the agencies for counseling is the American Counseling Association, and that is the governing agency for counselors. And then for psychologists, which is I can talk more about, the American Psychological Association, you can't even call yourself a psychologist if you are not licensed.
Right. I just want to add one thing to that because I understand why people come to the pastor. Until I would say like maybe the last 10 years or so, if someone wanted to have therapy with someone who shared their religion or who was a Christian or whatever religion they had, it was difficult for them to find because that information was not available to them. Now, if you go into the insurance companies where they have people who put in their information, you can add information. Like my information says I'm a Christian, it says I'm a woman, and it says I'm African American. If you want those three, then fine, you can give me a phone call. If you're not interested in any of those three, don't call me. So you can, before you even get on the phone, now you have more of an option. So I can understand because I have people that come to me that say, I want to speak to somebody who looks like me, and I want to speak to somebody who knows Jesus Christ. I don't want anybody else. So, okay, we're good to go. But so I can understand why people come to the pastor because they want to feel comfortable about talking about themselves and all these things that we're talking about. They're very close and they're very personal, and we don't want to just do that with anybody.
Absolutely.
Can I just
Sure.
add to, I was just, that's exactly what I was gonna bring up, Sister Drusilla. And having gone through therapy, the other challenge, I guess, that a Christian, me for myself, might go through is, why would I be having these feelings if I am in a relationship with God? Like, why can't God solve my problems, kind of thing? So it's a very special care, I think. So it is good that they're offering and putting that putting now that they're like, I want a Christian counselor, and I just was going to talk about that. I know you have a lot on your, to present, but just, what does a Christian counselor offer, or Christian therapy offer? But I do agree that's probably why we seek past the pastor out, because of that. That's what I would do because of that struggle.
Yeah.
So.
Part of the resources, I do have the Association of Black Psychologists, and on that, those resources, it's the link to the directory, and the directory has the list of names. It has the contact information, location, geographical location, and also the specialties that the person has. And some of them are Christian counselors as well. Will or have a Christian orientation, and that's part of that orientation. Um, so. That's what
Sharon, someone asks, is Medicare covered? Does
the
Medicare cover?
I didn't even talk about insurances yet, but yes, Medicare does cover, but and the person has to accept Medicare. So on the Association of Black Psychologists, they don't list what insurances they cover, but the New Jersey Psychological Association, I put that on there too. They do list the, and as well as Psychology Today, they do list the insurances that they accept. And so it's on the psychologist, the therapist, the that's licensed social worker to decide what insurances they're going to accept. And some will go the gamut and try to get as many as they can, especially if they're working full time. But if they're only part time, they may only accept certain insurances. So that's individual to the therapist, the insurance. So we are running out of time, so I'm not going to go over these things. These are the different therapy approaches: CBT, psychodynamic, something called ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy, EMDR. But maybe we can finish up with this, asking, how will I know if therapy is successful? I had a couple of questions that I wanted to ask you guys too, and one of them, in terms of preferences, would be, would you prefer like a therapist with 1 or 2 years of experience, or someone that's, someone fresh out of school with 1 or 2 years of experience, or someone older, more seasoned therapist with 10 to 20 years of experience? There's, pros and cons for both. Think about that. But how will I know if therapy is successful? It is important to, if you've been in therapy before, to establish in the very beginning. Usually you would do that with your therapist. What are the goals? What are the objectives? And those goals and objectives are going to be collaboratively assessed throughout the therapy. If one of your goals is to be more productive at work, or to be able to, decrease your anxiety, um, and um, and that's shown in different ways. then you're going to assess whether or not that is occurring. So it is important for you to trust yourself and how you feel about the progress of your goals, because sometimes we think that, okay, the therapist is the expert, and so I'm, gonna go with whatever they say. But just like you check your own doctors, and I hope you do, even your medical doctors. They're prescribing medications. Those medications aren't work if they don't work for you, or if you feel that there are some side effects that you feel uncomfortable about. It's important for you to identify that. So trust yourself. How are you feeling about the progress of your goals? Do you feel that you're moving forward? And then expectation can be everything. Like you can, again, sign up for long-term or short-term therapy. What are you expecting of the therapist? What if you're expecting of the therapy? If you go in and you are working with the therapist and you feel that, okay, I expected this, and we talked about this as being, short term, but it's going longer than I expected. Or I expected you to be just as nice and not pushing me, as you were in the very beginning, but now that we're getting into some, really deep conversation, I feel that you're being too aggressive or too assertive or too aggressive in the therapy. So, what are you expecting? You're going to know whether or not that therapy is successful or not. I want to just sum up the steps to follow.
Dr. Sharon, did you say if you're not happy with the therapist, how you, because a lot of times I think that, people get kind of shy or whatever about saying, hey, this is not working for me. And then, what do they do next? Is that something that you can talk about? I don't know if I missed it. I'm trying to
Yeah.
monitor the chat and follow along.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you don't feel you're getting enough out of it, but yet you might be afraid to leave. Because where do you go next?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I didn't say what to do. I said, don't be afraid to do it, to leave. Don't be afraid to, and I said to trust yourself. But I think that if you are not feeling comfortable with that therapist, I think it's important for you to talk to other people in your life, other people that are close to you, to let them know also how you're feeling and get some support. Sometimes you need support in being able to stand up for yourself. It is okay to challenge your therapist. Ooh, did I say that? Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's okay to let the therapist know that, well, I expected, this to go in one direction and it's going in another. And maybe there's a reason why it's going in that direction, and the therapist can, explain to you. But therapy should be a collaborative process, and not a one-way street. So if you're feeling like your therapist is this person is identifying themselves, I'm the expert, and you just have to listen to me. I'm giving you, advice. It's important that you are able to maybe talk with someone else to get the support to be able to say, I'm not sure I'm going to do this. I know my brother, I talked about him in the beginning, who went into therapy for the first time, and he decided that that he liked the therapist at first, and then at some point he said, I don't like the way this person is, pushing me, what direction I don't feel that she's really listening to me. And instead of telling her, he just left the therapy. But I think that you can leave, or you can communicate that to the therapist and I think communicating it is probably best because you'll see whether or not there is a change. Because if you communicate it and then there's still no change, then you know it's time to leave. Um, so yeah, I hope that helps.
The thing about therapy, and when you go in, if you have high blood pressure, and you can go to the doctor, go whatever, they can check your blood pressure and tell you in the morning it's high, in the evening it's low. This medication is working, that medication works. You know, with your physical illnesses, it's easier to monitor. With mental illness, it's really the patient who provides the information, or if they will let you speak to a family member. Sometimes collaborative efforts are essential, because you really don't know. I don't know if when we come up with a plan and you're doing the plan, I don't know how that is for you. I'm not with you every minute, but we talk about it. You give me the information, and then we also talk about how you feel doing the plan. So there's a lot of communication that has to take place. And if that's not happening for you, if you're not feeling comfortable with it, you should not feel bad about looking elsewhere to get your help, because this is your life,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah. Thank you, Sister Drew. Are there any other questions? I'm gonna go through the steps and then see if there's any more questions before we end. I know we're after 8, and I don't know whether or not we should be more conscious of the time or more conscious of being able to answer the questions. So I'll take your lead, Susan. All
Well,
right.
some people are asking for a part 2.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm feeling too.
So sooner than later. I mean, as soon as we can schedule this, we ought to come back to this while this is still fresh in our minds. So let's look at the next couple of weeks and see if we can put it in. And also, let's just schedule 90 minutes next time as opposed to an hour.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah, and then we'll have more time to actually discuss and answer questions. Thank you.
Is the meeting recorded? Because I came a little late, so I missed most of it, but I would really like to be able to get the information that was provided.
Yes, it is
Recorded.
recorded. Mhm.
Okay. How do I obtain a copy of the recording?
We'll let you know when it's available. Shannon will let me know. And I can post it in the WhatsApp chat, the church WhatsApp chat. And anyone who's not part of St. Matthew, if you would like a recording, just let me know. I know some of my friends are on this, so you know how to reach me. But we can circulate that. We also have to circulate, Dr. Sharon. We don't have the resource material that was not sent. I did not receive it. Neither did.
Did I send
Neither
the
did.
I sent the wrong thing.
I didn't receive it. I didn't receive anything. So we have to kind of work on getting that resource information out too, because that's not in this PowerPoint, correct?
Actually, it is. So if
Oh,
I
okay,
some of it is, not all of it. So
okay.
all right, let me just summarize the steps to follow. I think we talked about thinking about, the type of therapist that you're looking for, to have some idea if you know in any of information about the different orientation, different approaches to therapy. Fees, I know that's a big one because we we don't always have the resources, and we want to know, well, what therapists might be low cost, um, or work on a slide and scale fee, genders of the therapist, so forth and so on. So we've talked about that. Oh, proximity is also important. We might be looking for someone that is close to where we live so that we have easy access, right? And then with technology, in person or not. There's also teletherapy or therapy via Zoom. Yeah. So number two, searching. So once we have an idea of maybe what type of therapist we might want, we're going to search, maybe you can search one or all of the resources that are available. Some of the resources that I'm going to share. You might choose one or two that then choose one or two therapists that fit what you might have identified as most important to you. And you may have, out of all those things, you may decide, well, what's more important, and probably fees are going to be most important, and maybe proximity. So third, to ask for the consultation. You can interview the therapist, maybe by phone or by Zoom, get a feeling of comfortability, and of course the time frame that the therapist tends to work within. And so you can sometimes just get a feel, a vibe of the, if you will, of what this therapist, how you're feeling about whether or not you mesh or not with a therapist. Is it someone who is too soft spoken or too loud or not energetic enough, or too energetic? You know, you get a sense of that. And four, collaborate. It's important that the therapy is a collaborative process, for you to feel comfortable, for you to feel that you're getting what you need, collaborating with the goals of treatment, and understanding the also timeframes. You're always going to collaborate with how often you meet in the meeting times. And five, reassessing the goals. As you are working in the therapy, working toward the goals, you are often reassessing, are you meeting your goals, and are you not meeting those goals, or do new goals need to be developed during the process? Might be a question or something that's needed as well. So these are the resources. I have a list of crisis hotlines. And I have a longer list with the paper, but this is just some of the informations. And most of these are referral services. The New Jersey Association of Black Psychologists, I talked about that, the individual names will be in the directory. So this is a direct link to the directory. The New Jersey Psychological Association, the BetterHelp, you probably hear about that online. I hear that that's one of the better online therapies. Did someone say something? Psychology Today as well. And most of the colleges, Montclair State as well as Kane University has community counseling clinics, and they are low cost. They're low cost because they're using some of them, mostly using the graduate students. These are doctoral level students that are getting their training in therapy. And then I have a list of the book resources, and these are just self-help books. I have not necessarily read them all, but I think that they can be helpful. Self-care for Black men, healing journal for men, and then self-love workbook for women, soothing your nerves, Black women's guide to understanding overcoming anxiety, and then Terry Williams' book Black Pain, the video that you saw. So self-help books can be very helpful, and understanding maybe your feelings or maybe even working through some things, even without therapy. Mm. So, are there any questions to sort of end with? I'm going to stop sharing. So,
Sister Dr. Sharon, I would like to make a comment and answer one of your questions. The comment is, you ladies, Jennings, Thorne, nice to see you, Sister Thorne, and Sister Jackson, and my pastor. I thank you for all this valuable information. And it in my well, there was a time that I thought I would seek it. And maybe you guys remember when my son James went into the military. Well, you don't know this part, but when James went into the military and they told me I wouldn't have any contact with him for several months of boot camp, I thought I would need therapy. But my mom, thank God, she's a registered nurse. She helped me get through that. And though it kind of went by fast, at least looking back at it now, several years, I got through it. But yeah, I definitely thought that when they said, no, Mom, you won't be able to see or call or text or email or nothing your son for, I don't know, I forgot what boot camp is, 8 weeks, 9 weeks, whatever it was. And I definitely was feeling like, okay, I need therapy.
separation anxiety, right?
Yeah. But again, my mom, I'm so grateful. I am very grateful. My sisters and I have a wonderful mom, and she's supportive and a registered nurse, and she kind of was helping me like that. I mean, I wasn't freaking out or nothing, but it was just so new. But you ladies, thank you. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. James is doing fine. I'm doing fine. Everybody's doing great. He did his time in the Navy, and he's good. Sister Thornton, it's nice to see you. Thornton, it's nice to see you.
You too.
And I apologize for not having a camera. And I know, Pastor, I know, but I'm somewhere where the camera shouldn't be. I shouldn't be working with the camera on. So I apologize for that.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you for your comments. And so glad that everybody's doing well, and especially James and you.
Thank you.
Any other questions before we end?
I did drop Dr. Sharon, I did drop her information. If you have questions that you want to ask her privately, that was dropped in the chat. I'll drop it in right now again. Again, if you want to ask her something that you just want to keep private, it's right there. That's her number. That's her direct number. And according to our media ministry, this should be available. Well, I was told no later than Friday at noon, but I put in there Saturday just to be safe. I can put that on WhatsApp too, in our WhatsApp chat as well. And if you're not part of the ministry, if you're not part of St. Matthew, then I think Trishelle dropped in the Health and Wellness Ministry email address, so you can reach out to us separately. Of course, if I know you, then you can reach out to me as well. But you can also just email the Health and Wellness at stmatthewame.org for any follow-up questions related to just getting access to the materials.
Yeah, can I just say that I want to, before you send anything out, I'm gonna work with you in terms of what should be sent out, okay? And
Okay.
in terms of my number, that is my work number, and that is not a number that I guess have access to or look at. Let me just say that I will get back to you within 48 hours if you use that number. So please don't expect me to get back to you right away, because it's a separate number, it's a business number, and I have other responsibilities right now. So okay. But I will get back to you. You can use the number.
If there's nothing else, Pastor Wilson is going to close us out with prayer if you're done, if there are no other questions.
Let me
No other
thank
questions?
you. I'm sorry. Let me thank you, Dr. Sharon, for your leadership tonight and for the information you provided. Very valuable information. This is part one. and I'm serious about us putting together part 2. I'm actually thinking 2 weeks from tonight, if that allows, if your schedule allows, but we can talk offline about that. Thanks to everyone who connected, and I hope that the information that was shared was helpful. I think when we come to part 2, we have a little bit more time to go through some of the details that Dr. Sharon shared tonight. So we thank you, Dr. Sharon, and celebrate your upcoming retirement and look forward to you being available to help us deal with all of our mental health issues in the church. Amen. Amen. We look forward to that. So let us pray. God, we thank you for this event and thank you for this coming together in the conversation. Bless us now and help us to be strong spiritually, physically, and mentally so that we can do the work you assigned us to do. This we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.